This is Valley View News.
Historic national health care legislation has been passed in the Capitol, what one senator calls the civil rights movement of the 21st century. Tens of thousands of runners took in the sights along the new route of the 25th Los Angeles Marathon. Tiger Woods says he's remorseful and also nervous about facing fans as he returns to pro golf.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Sean Weissman.
And I'm Dina Callio.
It has been a historic week for national health care reform. House Democrats took a major step toward guaranteeing Americans access to medical coverage, the biggest step in Medicare since 1965. Nearly $1 trillion of taxpayer money over the next decade will fund insurance. It will require that 32 million uninsured Americans get health care coverage. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi praised fellow Democrats for pushing through the legislation.
It happened because in the House, our leadership worked not as a team, but as a close partnership and with teamwork with all of the members, the Democratic members of the House.
Part of the dramatic health care expansion requires insurance companies to cover Americans who have pre-existing health care problems. Insurers would no longer be able to drop coverage of people who become sick. Companies could face penalties if they don't provide health benefits for their employees. The bill also opens federal Medicaid insurance for the poor to more Americans. The federal government is pledging $500 billion in subsidies for low and moderate income Americans to buy insurance. The legislation will be paid for by a nearly 4% tax on investment income for individuals who earn more than $200,000 yearly and couples making $250,000.
Valley View News asked some CSUN students about their thoughts on the historic healthcare legislation.
It reaches the people that it needs to reach, because a lot of times these ordinances get passed and people don't see the benefits of them. So hopefully this time around, everyone will be able to benefit from universal health care.
I don't know much about it. I really don't know.
Well, I would have liked it more if it had a public option.
I wish I knew more about it because I don't know anything about it.
Going to disregard pre-existing conditions and then however will affect 30 million more Americans?
Honestly, I don't know anything about it.
I feel like the government is focusing more on healthcare and neglecting other things like education.
Hopefully it just helps out, with a lot of people that are in dire need of it, especially for those who can't afford it. It will definitely help people out a lot. So hopefully it can turn into it should hopefully be a positive change that can help out mostly everybody who really needs it and the most important ones.
Thousands of people were rallying nearby in Washington for immigration overhaul as House members were voting on health care. The protesters at the National Mall stretched across 5 blocks, chanting for Congress to grant legal status to illegal immigrants. Participants in the March for America also criticized the Obama administration for increasing deportations. There are nearly 11 million illegal immigrants currently in the United States. This month, 2 senators proposed an immigration reform bill to set up a temporary worker plan and change the legalization process. President Obama says he is in favor of the bill, but many have feared the debate over health care will delay changes to immigration laws.
The month of March is often associated with spring and daylight saving. It's at this time that Iranian Americans celebrate their new year, known as Nowruz. Valley View's Karen Castro reports on the festivities.
Eid Shoma Mubarak, or Happy New Year in Farsi. The Farang Foundation hosted the 2nd annual Nowruz celebration at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. It was a day filled with performances, film, and music. The Board of Trustees for the Farang Foundation says the organization is the first to represent the Iranian American community.
This has become from a culture which is old and very rich, and there wasn't an organization that is covering Southern California to promote this culture and enrich the community here.
During a ceremony held at the Bing Theater, the foundation awarded 2 Iranian historians and a short Iranian film called Yari Dabistani Man. The producer for the film explains the message behind the politically charged film.
For us, if we're honest about what our positioning is it's one of perhaps inspiration or continuing to admire and honor the courage of the people that are fighting the fight for what most of us take for granted on a daily basis.
The film focuses on the social movement by the youth in Iran. The creator, writer, and narrator of the show, The Rite of Spring, says art is a way to keep Iranian culture alive in the U.S.
We're living in a different culture with different traditions and different important dates. So I think in a sense it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of dedication to uphold the traditions.
Iranian Americans will celebrate the New Year on the first day of spring, but the festivities start way before with a special display.
This over here is called the Half Sin, and it plays a very special part in the Nowruz celebrations. It consists of 7 items, all which start with the letter S in Farsi.
Each item symbolizes something different, like fertility, rebirth, medicine, health and beauty, wealth, happiness, and love. Nowruz is a 13-day celebration where families and close friends get together.
It's a time when you go and visit your family, you go and pay a visit to the elderlies, and you kind of like receive New Year gifts from the elderly, so it's just a family fun.
Traditionally, on the last day, children dress up in colorful clothes before receiving the New Year at the beginning of the vernal equinox. In West Los Angeles, I'm Karen Castro for Valley View News.
Listeners of KCSN will notice a big change in the music, but that's not the only thing that's changed. Chelsea Pelton-Brown is in the newsroom with the story.
KCSN gives journalism students the chance to write and report the news at the radio station, but the news will no longer be a part of the regular FM broadcast.
This is the evening update on 88.5 KCSN.
Tucked away in this dormitory building is CSUN's radio station, KCSN. Here, students can get a hands-on experience in writing, producing, and anchoring the news. But changes at the station have recently taken place to appeal to a larger audience. The new format is now an adult album alternative format, also known as AAA, which broadcasts 24 hours a day on 88.5 FM.
Since about 2007, we've been looking at the audience. And we realized that we really just didn't have a sustainable audience or support from our members. And so we began to look at options.
She also says she hopes the new format will appeal to students as well. The classical music that used to be played on the station can now be heard online. The new AAA format at KCSN offers a blend of rock, country, Americana, folk, blues, and jazz. But one thing you won't hear on the new format is students giving the news. The student newscasts are now broadcast on the HD2 channel.
It's a different receiver, but it's a one-time. It's not like paying XM all the time. And you generally need, depending on where you're located, you may need a separate antenna plugged into that because it isn't as strong a signal as our FM.
Journalism student Melissa Brown is not in favor of the new format.
I was pretty surprised when we found out. I was kind of disappointed because I have some friends and family, who like to listen in their car or whatever, and not that many people I know really have HD radios.
Students will still be eligible for traditional awards and can still reach an audience via web, iPhones, and Blackberries. For now, students will continue to produce the news for the morning drive and the award-winning evening update. Many students who work at KCSN News also work here at Valley View News. The students' work is a part of the curriculum of the Department of Journalism. Back to you.